find that there's a lot of confusion in the teacher community about what's the difference between an accommodation and a modification. So if you've ever stared at an IEP or a 504 plan and you've wondered, what does that really mean? And is it actually making work just easier for kids? Let's talk about that real quick. So an accommodation means same work, different access. It doesn't change anything about what they're learning, it changes how they access the learning. So to break this down, it's more like support and not shortcuts, as opposed to a modification is different work, different expectations. So modifications change the actual assignment. They change the expectations and they change the level of mastery that we're checking for all of our students. So think of it as adjusting the target so that the student has a better chance of succeeding. So an accommodation might look like giving a dyslexic student an audio version of the book that you're reading in class, or having ChatGPT take the directions and chunk them, meaning breaking them down into sizable chunks instead of handing the whole thing to them at once. This could also be chunking tasks. So you're taking a big giant project and instead of serving that up to the student, more neurotypical students can do that entire task. You're breaking it into, I want you to do this, and then you're gonna do this, making it something that a student can process in a way that makes sense to them. This could also be extended time on tests and quizzes or flexible seating. It doesn't change the task. It doesn't change the outcome. It just changes how a student can access that assignment. Now, a modification is actually changing the assignment. So if most of your students have 25 problems to work on, this kid has 10 instead. And we're focusing on mastery over just quantity of problems being solved. You might modify it and have a student do a strong paragraph instead of an entire essay. You might change the text, giving students a text that has a lower lexile level or is on a different grade level than the rest of your students in your class. Or sometimes it's creating alternate assignments. So instead of some of your students completing like a written exam or doing something on paper, they're giving an oral response to you instead. Now, does this mean dumbing down your classwork for your students? It absolutely does not. The best way this was explained to me by a dyslexic specialist, because I had asked her, like, is having kids reading books making it too easy for them instead of making them try to read the words? She said, if a child was blind, would you give them Braille? Or would you tell them, just try a little bit harder? So giving students that are dyslexic an option other than just trying to read the words with their eyes and instead allowing them to use their ears to read the story is not only being in compliance, it is meeting your students where they are and helping them to get to where they need to be. If you want more practical teaching tips or if you just want to see joy in action in the classroom, hit the subscribe button and follow me for more. Peace.